It's a wonderful morning down here at Sanur Beach, and it's a great time of the day to come down and have a look at what is going on. The world really comes alive down here at Sanur Beach in these early morning times, and the sunrises can be absolutely sensational. I mean, just look at that sunrise. I mean, you'd barely know that 5 minutes ago there was a torrential thunderstorm here. Like, it was just crazy. And it cleared up all of a sudden, and then you just get that stunning sunrise. And everyone's down here just getting the photos and filming themselves. And it's just a really great time of day. It's mainly filled with locals at this time of day as well. You'll find that there's a lot of local photographers that just love taking photos of this place. And, you know, it makes sense, doesn't it, really? Because it's just so fantastic. We've got a few people in the water down here. And then further over there in the background, there's a guy doing some sort of fishing, or I don't know, picking up some sort of sea creatures. And then further out the back, just along the reef, right at the back there's a reef here on Sanur Beach, and there's some people out there doing proper fishing with rods. But I mean, just take a look at that view. It is just magnificent. We're here with Susan as well. Just come down for the morning just to have a walk today. We often run along this beachfront path, and that's really enjoyable. But when you walk along it, you sort of see a few more things as well. It's a slower pace, and that's something I really love. Now, as we walk further over this direction, so if we look over to the north, you'll see over there in the distance the classic Sanur scene. So the coastline, what it does, it goes along there and it sort of curves around, around to East Bali, and then up there is Gunung Agung. It's actually covered in clouds at the moment, and then it goes further along, right along the coast, all the way up to the east. And then just over there, you can't see it today because there's clouds, but I can, just there, and it's just above my fingertip. I don't think you can see it on the video, but basically you can see Gunung Rinjani, which is 150 kilometers away. And then that there, just in front of, or just below where the sun is, that is Nusa Penida. And Nusa Penida is obviously a lot more popular than it used to be. But from Sanur, we've always been able to see it, and we've always known it looks glorious under these sunrises. It's absolutely brilliant. So if you're a budding photographer, this is a great place to come and get some great photos. I think today is particularly good. You'll also find a lot of sellers down here. One of the ones that I like to visit is a lumpia seller. She's right here. I'm going to ask about it. They have all these fried things. So they're the lumpia there. Satu campur, ya? Yeah. So one mixed lumpia, or mixed gorengan. Basically, she's going to chop it up and then put a bit of sauce over the top of it. These These lumpia sellers are actually down at the beach all the time, at different times of day, but there's quite a lot of them. She's asking if we want cabe or chili. We don't like it spicy, so we're not going to get that. Berapa lama kerja di sini?
Udah 40 tahun.
Wow.
Wah, udah punya cucu 5.
She's been here for 40 years, which is incredible. Makasih Bu.
Terima kasih.
Ya, makasih Bu.
Yeah.
Look at that. Beautiful. I'm going to give it to Susan, and I'm going to just try my first one. I've actually had this before, but it's sometimes quite different. It's great. And that peanut sauce on there and fried food. It's a bit weird in the morning for some people, but I think it's really enjoyable. Quite good. This is what they call Pantai Karang, and in this area here, right in front of us here, there's quite often a yoga group that sets up in the mornings. They'll do I don't know, maybe 30 people or 40 people in one yoga group down here, run by Indonesian yoga instructors. And I think it's really cool, a really nice place to do it. And then this is a coral temple. That temple is made all of coral. It's just fantastic. You look at the detail on that, but they're all big coral blocks. Yeah, probably from the, I'm guessing from the coral reef out the front there, which, if you don't know, that coral reef out the front is a surfing spot as well. So there is a lot of surfing here in Sanur, but you don't see it most of the time because it's quite far offshore, and often it's down in the southern end as well, rather than here. But there is a reef, the Hyatt Reef, which can be surfed and that as well. But you'll find that most people get a boat from the southern end down at Pantai Mertasari and then go out to the break off the reef. This area has actually got a lot of pigeons in it as well. You see them up there. One of the interesting things about this particular wet season is how wet it's been. Up until probably, I think, 2 weeks ago, the rain was just incessant, non-stop, almost for like, I don't know, a couple of months, just all day, all night, and there's just flooding everywhere. Over the past 2 weeks, the rain sort of returned to a bit of a more normal sort of pattern. And you'll get a thunderstorm in the afternoon for an hour, well, half an hour maybe, bit of a downpour here and there. Sometimes overnight, but not as often. This morning there was a downpour just at sunrise that only lasted 5-10 minutes. It was intense, but now it's gone. The sun's risen, and you're left with this beautiful sunrise. And the temperature is actually a little bit cooler because of it. What happens when you get these big downpours, it just cools everything down just a touch. Because, you know, sometimes when you get those long dry spells, the heat builds and builds and builds, and if you don't get the rain to sort of cool you down, it just becomes intense. I actually copped it yesterday. I was just up in Ubud yesterday, and I was riding the motorbike, and it was very sunny, and I had my legs exposed, and today I've got really burnt legs because the heat was just intense yesterday. It doesn't feel as hot today. It's been 27 degrees overnight, which is pretty normal here, and the morning has started off a lot cooler than some other days because of that rain, and it's quite pleasant to walk along here. You know, you can walk along here for a couple of hours and be quite happy stopping in for a drink or a coffee or whatever along the way. The other thing in Sanur, you've got these little, I don't know, I think what they call them, bendop or pondok, and you'll find people just hanging out at those. You get a lot of fishermen, like they like to stash their gear there and then walk into the water and try to catch their fish just off the shore, because this beach area is really shallow. You can walk out all the way to the reef. So you can walk all the way out there. Well, it's hard to see because the sky blends into the ocean, but you can walk all the way out there. I can see quite a few fishermen out there at the moment fishing off the reef, and there's waves breaking into the reef over there because the tide's quite low at the moment. So these little gazebos are a nice little place to just come and watch the sunrise. I really love them. You can come down here at any time of day. Anyway, at sunset, obviously, you're going to get a different perspective to what you're going to get at sunrise. For some people, it can be a little bit too hot at sunrise, but today, for me, it's not. But for some people, you know, they find it a little bit too hot coming down to these places at sunrise. These little areas at low tide, when the tide's just right, they're really great places to get a little canoe or a little paddle board out and go paddling around the place. You'll see a lot of people do that. When the tide's too low, it's really low and you can't really move anything around there. Love it down here. Such a beautiful atmosphere. It's so peaceful. It's one of the reasons I moved to Sanur was that it's such a peaceful place. Even though it's quite busy today, that doesn't mean that it's, you know, busy in terms of, you know, the stress levels or anything like that. It's busy in terms of number of people, but it's so chilled. So chilled. Everyone's just having a good time. People taking photographs of things, people walking their dogs, riding bicycles, going for a run like this. Just a word on the bicycles. Up until, it's almost 2 years ago now, up until about 2 years ago, you used to be able to ride electric bikes along here. And they were a bit of a menace because the speed that electric bikes go when you mix it with a large number of pedestrians. Apparently, and I didn't see it firsthand, but apparently there were some accidents And yeah, I mean, so the local Banjar decided to put a stop to it, and they said no more electric bikes, and we're back to a more peaceful way of operating down here in Sanur, where you'll find people on normal pedal-powered bicycles, you've got walkers and runners, and it's just fantastic. Just as I said that, a guy on an electric-powered scooter just zoomed past. I haven't seen that for a long time, but it's Murphy's Law, isn't it? I mean, you know, you basically say something, or the commentators curse, you say something and then the opposite happens straight away. And just talking about that point of how busy things can be and how stressful things can be, if you're a type of person that's easily stressed, or you feel, you know, that tightness in the chest when things get a little bit busy and a little bit crowded, like in traffic and that sort of thing, Sanur is a perfect place to avoid a lot of that. One of my things before coming here always was that I hate traffic. I find traffic stressful, even if it's peaceful in the traffic, like if people aren't being aggressive. It's just stressful just sitting there and having to deal with it. So one of the things before moving to Sanur, one of my priorities was I need to go to a place without traffic, something a little bit stress-free. And Sanur really wasn't on my list of places to go. But when I got here and just felt how peaceful it was, I mean, gee, I couldn't go past it. It's just the perfect place for that. There is no traffic, more or less. I mean, I wouldn't call any of the little jams you get here traffic. They are mere inconveniences that happen very, very rarely. Especially when you live west side, you don't really get traffic. You might, if you come across the bypass from the west side to the centre of town, you might get like a queue up at the traffic lights of maybe 20 cars. That's it. So it's not stressful at all. Like, you're not stuck in traffic here. And that's one of the beautiful things about this place, is that, and that keeps me a little bit stress-free, is that there's no traffic. Now, for other people, that might not be an issue, so that might not be something that you consider. But if I was down in Canggu, for example, with that sort of traffic, I couldn't cope. And that's pretty important to sort of have an objective list of priorities before you go and move anywhere, I think. Rather than just sort of base it on what you felt when you were on holiday, you need to really have a think about how you felt, or how you're going to feel based on a bunch of priorities. This is the view of one of my favourite beaches in Sanur. It's actually the one in front of the Tanjung Sari. They go and rake that beach every morning and they make it look absolutely beautiful. And then straight across from the beach is their bar area, where they'll serve breakfast to their guests. As the sun is now a little bit higher in the sky, it just looks glorious. But that beach is just fantastic. It's just really beautifully prepared and cared for. The amount of time and effort they put into it. There's a bunch of staff out there at the moment just going and just raking it and picking up any bits of leaves or sticks. It's not just rubbish they're looking at. They're looking at all sorts of different bits and pieces that drop from the trees. So Indonesia is a majority Muslim country, and in the rest of Indonesia, this day is yesterday was a really important day. It's the first day of Ramadan, the fasting month. And being here in Bali, you don't really feel any of that unless you're sort of nearer to some of the mosques that are on the island. And what you'll be able to do at some of those mosques at around sort of 5-6 o'clock is they'll set up little markets where you can buy little snacks that are special during the Ramadan period. And it's a real great way to get a little taste of what Indonesia's like for 1 month of the year, because that's what it's like everywhere else in Indonesia. They set up these Ramadan markets, or these, it's basically what they call buka puasa. So after the sun sets, you can go and eat again. So they'll set up these markets and they'll have more special items of food on offer, traditional foods on offer that you might not get during the rest of the year. And so if you're interested in that, you'll need to find your nearest mosque and have a look at what they're selling down there, because it can be quite interesting. And I guess that's the other counterpoint to what we're feeling here in Bali, because it's a majority Hindu island. If you don't look for that stuff, you'll never find it. You'll never see it. And it's just interesting for me after having lived in Java for so long, to not actually have that anymore. There's actually a dog here behind the fence, and one of the locals was just speaking to me and saying that the dog's trapped behind the fence and can't get out, and they're a bit worried about it. And the lady just asked me to go and speak to the restaurant to see if they can get it out of there, but I don't know how that's going to work. But I'll just see if the staff can get it out. Katanya Bu, ini ada beachman, dia datang ke sini jam 8 dan dia akan kunci buka dan anjing ini bisa keluar. Terima kasih Bu ya. Mudah-mudahan anjing cepat keluar. Yeah. So the whole story there was that there's a dog that's sort of, it looks to be trapped inside a caged area. And the local lady just asked me, can you go and ask the hotel, you might have more success, to see if they've got a key to get that dog out of there because it's trapped. So I just went and spoke to the hotel, and they understood what the situation was, and they said, look, there's a beach man that comes and rents bicycles, and he'll come down every day and unlock that fence, and if the dog wants to get out at that point, it'll get out. Also, there's some workers that sort of like to rest in that empty block there, and they've got access in and out around the back of it, and apparently the dog can get in and out of there as well. It's difficult. I mean, getting into the dog politics here in Sanur is a bit of a dangerous one. I don't get into it basically because there are so many people here that are caring for the dogs that are really that's a real high priority for them, and I don't know enough about the dog situation here to really get involved. Of course we want to look after them, but hopefully the dog people, like that local lady there who's obviously very generous and very kind, will be able to provide some solution there. She just gave it some food, so it's not going hungry, and obviously there's a lot of water around, so but hopefully it can get out of there sometime soon. Now if you are a dog person and you're watching this, I don't want to sort of step on your toes or anything like that. So now I haven't been down here for very long so far, but it's already gotten really hot. It's gotten hot really quickly. So the best time to walk along this path for me is right at sunrise. Sunrise at the moment is at 6:23. Well, I reckon that's a great time to come down here and go for a walk. You can even do it a little bit later, but when it gets in towards the 7:30, 8 o'clock time frame, you're getting the full force of that sun beating down on you, and it can become a little bit more difficult. And with that said, I'm going to wrap things up here for today. Thanks for coming along on this little walk along Sanur's beachfront, and thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanur. I'll catch you next time.